Hey YouTube! Yeah, so you may recognise this, but you may not recognise it. This is my Washburn Vulture bass, and I stole the strings off this to put on. I might have put them on this. They might be the ones that I put on this area, because there was an. I was just checking to make sure there wasn't an issue. There was an issue with the strings on this being. See where they start to taper at the ends? Up here? That was kind of starting before it got to the nut. Which, to be honest, I used it in the studio and it seemed to sound fine. It's just I didn't like the idea of it doing that, so that was a few months ago. I took them off and I bought special strings for this. Well, not special, extra long scale Warwick ones. Did they say extra long scale on them? They don't, but I checked them out before. These Warwick ones you can get from Thoman, they're about a tenner a set, and I like them. Those are the ones I used to buy years ago. So while this has been sitting for months with no strings on it, and then when I was in the garage, in fact I was talking to my pal Scott a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about, I found this, and if you remember, the last time when I first got this bass, it's really been a bit of a disappointment the whole time I've had it, because I thought it was a very, very rare red one that my pal picked up for me in Denmark, and it took him like a year and a half to get the CITES thing to get it sent and all this, and I got it and it wasn't red, it was badly painted red. That was the colour of it. It's like kind of hand paint, brush painted, not even spray painted. So I was sitting there going, oh no, what's going on? So I started, it took me hours and days with like white spirit and a Brillo pad to take off the paint, and this is what was in below it. But the thing was, because I'd been using the scourer to take it off, it was really cloudy and matte coloured. It kind of looked like a modern matte finish guitar. And then I started using that stuff yesterday, and I've managed to get it shiny the way it should be. And it's like, it's amazing what that stuff does. I did have to maybe do about 10, 20 times. I just basically spent all day yesterday doing it. My girlfriend said it was acting weird. I don't know if I maybe got a bit high off the fumes or something. We'll see if it says anything about... It doesn't say anything about using it in a well ventilated area, I don't think. Maybe it's just if you're sitting using it all day. So I've polished the front up quite a lot. I've got the headstock back to look shininess. It was matte before. Yeah, I've kind of got that. This was really cloudy. I've managed to get that pretty shiny. I can still do a wee bit more around the outside, but I can do that once I put strings on it. I kind of wanted to see what it sounded like when it was working properly. Yeah, so this is a 1979, serial number starter 79, Washburn Vulture, which took me years to find one. I knew they existed. There's a scavenger bass, which is a much more common. Similar, not exactly the same shape, but very similar shape. It's a bolt-on neck though, and it's made in a different factory. This is basically the bass version of the Hawk. The Washburn Hawk, I've got one of them as well, and this is a tobacco sunburst. And pretty much every other tobacco sunburst one I've seen is an awful lot lighter than this. I think this was painted red in the 80s or something like that, and basically that's why there's no UV degradation, so it's turned out quite dark. I'm not sure. I don't think there's any remnant of the red paint left. It seems to be an awful lot redder. I don't know how accurate they were with the colours in these. I've seen ones that look very black to brown but without the redness in them, and I've seen ones that are sort of red but they're much lighter than this. This is quite dark around the edges. It doesn't look just now because of the way the sun's going. That's I'm trying to look at see what it actually looks like. That's more like what the colour it looks like normally, as opposed to like that with the way the light's hitting off it. Yeah. So this is my one thing I did notice while I'm talking about it anyway. I've talked for 4 minutes. These tuners have a wee thing on the back, so you can tighten up the tension, which I thought, what a great idea. When I had them off, I took the tuners off and cleaned them. I went for a deep clean. I thought, there's a wee Allen key, that's great. The wee Allen key goes in there though, doesn't it? So you can't get an Allen key in at it without taking the tuner off, and in that one, you can't get in it at all. So maybe that's why that never took off, because I was sitting there going, oh, that's a really good design feature. Why don't more basses have a tension thing, like on a guitar tuner, or on a bass, this type of bass tuner, you adjust the tension with this wee screw on the end. You might not know that, but you can adjust the tension on standard tunings, but I've got a screw in the end. That's what's for, to make them a bit stiffer. Obviously the elephant E type ones can't do that, but these have got an adjustment on the bottom, which I thought was rather cool. Yeah, so this is... I've used it a couple of times in the studio when it was matte coloured and it had the strings that kind of fell short, literally fell a bit short, and I had it tuned to C sharp. For some of the Black Sabbath songs are in C sharp, which I was just playing like on a normal bass, but it was kind of stepping on the toes of the guitarist a little bit because we were both playing in the same octave. You know, he would be tuned down or using a Digitech tuning pedal to get down to C sharp, and I'd be playing the C sharp, you know, there, which was a bit. It didn't. You know, there wasn't quite as the same amount of separation in it. So now this one's my C sharp bass, or for current purposes it is. I don't think I would get away, but I should maybe try it. My Epiphone EBO, the one that I painted like Geezer Butler, I wonder if maybe because it's short scale, I don't think it would handle the C sharp as well. I'm just going to accept the fact I'm going to be taking two basses to these gigs. It kind of gives me a spare bass as well, because it's not exactly difficult to just tune it up to E. It's like, it's a bass, so it's like it should be alright. Maybe the action will go a little bit higher. Yeah, so wee bit of a demo of the super shininess that is the Washburn Vulture, which are rare. If you can get one, buy one. They never made a Falcon. I was actually thinking of putting a post. I've got a Facebook page, Washburn Guitars, the Golden Era, which is for this sort of thing. There is another Washburn page, but it's full of like, Washburn still make guitars, so there's, you know, 50 years worth of models in it, whereas I've just chosen the 80s ones that look like this. Yeah, so they didn't make any other basses. They only made this one, and they made a two pickup one that's got a P bass pickup here and a jazz bass pickup here. But take maybe by that. If I saw one cheap enough, but it took me so long to find this one. I doubt we'll ever see one that I can afford. But what I really wish they'd made would be a Falcon, because a Falcon was the more. This is a Hawk. Well, so it's a Vulture, which is the equivalent of the Hawk, which is a 3-piece neck through, and it's just got like an ash, just solid wings on either side. I have to say that I'm not super impressed with the matching of the two sides. You're not really seeing it there. It looks very pretty. But this wing is darker than this wing. You can sort of see it here, where it flows seamlessly from that into the neck, and then this side is a bit of a darkening. That's a pretty poor complaint to have though. So I'm using my, you can't see it, as you can, just on the bottom there, which where I can't see it, my Korg, so a Zoom, a Korg, and I can't even remember, it doesn't appear to say Korg on the top of it, it must. It's a Korg Toneworks effects pedal, which, because I eventually get talked into, same as I get talked into using the tuning to C sharp, I get talked into using a fuzz pedal for the bass, and the problem with the fuzz pedal is it doesn't let the original bass signal through, so when you stomp in the fuzz it gets fuzzy but you lose all the low end. So I bought myself a bass overdrive pedal which was sort of doing it, and then I was sitting there thinking, right, I need a wah-wah for the start of NIB, so I was taking a Crybaby, a tuner pedal and the bass overdrive, and then I thought, hold on, and I bought this wee multi-effects unit for those things, because the fuzz in it's pretty good, but it's like a bass fuzz, so you can control the dry and wet signal, so you can get like you don't lose all the low end, and it's obviously got a tuner built in and it's got a wah-wah in it, so just use that and I'll just take one pedal and it weighs nothing. Perfect. And then I've kind of got to miss out quite a lot of bits because I'm not playing quite a lot of this song. So. Rocket engines burning fuel so fast, up into the night sky they last. Burning through the atmosphere, learn to reveal and fear. Play it too fast, it's much sludgier. So that's one of the ones. Obviously, I've not played any of these songs for a year, so all the notes I played wrong, I play right normally. What's the other one? Sounds much more impressive with the drums. Revolution in their minds to do what I say. And the sunrise of tomorrow bring peace in any way. 'Cause they will live in the shadow of atomic fear. But will they win the fight for peace or will they disappear? Yeah. Yeah, so this is a really nice bass, a little bit of neck drive on it. Quite a lot of neck drive on it, obviously this thing weighs a ton. But, yeah. So I think for this gig I've been talking, I think looks like that gig we've got is going to go ahead. I think I might, so I'm playing in 4 bands in the bill, I'm in 2 of them, playing guitar in one and bass in the other. I'd like to use this for the C sharp Sabbath ones. I haven't even worked out the set yet. I was kind of, ideally if I'm going to be swapping guitars, I would like to have at least a couple of down tuney ones together, so I could maybe start with EBO for or whatever. Really, no idea what we're going to do. But I was thinking if I was playing guitar and bass, like two bands, I don't know whether it'll be one after the other or maybe a couple of bands in the middle or whatever. I think it'd be pretty cool if I used this and this and the Epiphone EBO. But when I'm playing in Cranking House, playing the guitar, it'd be quite cool to use one of maybe the Falcon or the Hawk. So it's like getting two vintage Washburns getting used on the same stage in different bands would be pretty cool. But these things, if anyone's got one of these ones to swap, I would still like the two pickup one, which technically is a different model. I think it's a Vulture 2, but I'm not sure. I was saying that I've got the whole Wings series, which I sort of do, assuming that the one and the two pickup one are the same bass. I mean, they're exactly the same bass. It's just that it's got a jazz bass pickup in it, and this pickup, instead of being here, is more necky. So it's kind of more here and here, the pickups. So I would obviously quite like one of them, but I'm not paying the money that it deserves to get there. And I'm just basically overjoyed that I've got this back, because this was the one, as soon as I realised this existed, this is the one I wanted, and you just never saw them, and I saw a couple at a few £1,000, and it was like, this was the one for me. And now that it's shiny, I'm thinking I might actually, this cover here is wooden. I just left the red paint on it as a reminder of how bad it was, but I don't know if I really want to be reminded about how bad it looked. It's really nice and expensive looking again, so I'm pretty over the down about that. Rock on!